Yes, now there is sound. Namaste to all. I was trying to repair something and so it took a little time. ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्धदामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तन्न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Few more things about what we have been discussing. Samatvam yoga uchyate before we go into yoga karmasu kausalam. And I said if there is time we will also look into the third definition of yoga in the Bhagavad Gita. So now the whole thing is very clear with the discussion of prasada buddhi and the need for the human being to initiate the growth from prakrita buddhi to samskrita buddhi to prasada buddhi. You know, this is so it's very clear from the discussion yesterday that this kind of a growth has to be initiated. It doesn't happen on its own. You know, other kinds of growth happen on their own. You know, one can grow sideways, one can grow old, one can grow cranky. That may happen without the knowledge of oneself. But this kind of a self-growth cannot happen without one's initiative. And that's where the initiative is put, because what other choice do I have? No, I don't want to grow. Nobody will say that. That is the striving that we discussed right in the beginning of this series, of this talk series. This is what we were discussing, is that there is a innate desire to be better and better and better and better. And here is where that betterment had better be addressed. And this betterment had better be directed to this region of growing into a person with prasada buddhi. That is what makes one relatively complete and able therefore to pursue this knowledge that you are complete. You know, so that desire to become better and better had better be directed there, because you know, if it is directed elsewhere, all one gets is a big disappointment. And so if I am focused towards samatvam and prasada buddhi and inviting Ishvara into my life, not in the form of the deity that one worships in the temple, that's fine, that's well and good, but in the form of what? In the form of the results of action that are greeted, you know, worshipfully. So prasada is not just equanimity, but worshipfully. Because when the prasada is given in the temple, we go like this, you know, very worshipfully. We just, you know, see this and take it to the eyes, and then, you know, very worshipfully it is partaken. So similarly, you know, the results of action are also partaken worshipfully, because they are the incarnation of Bhagavan in one's life. This is why there is the need to do this. So now that brings us to a very interesting part of the discussion on karma yoga in general, and yoga karmasu kaushalam and samatvam yoga uchyate, the specific definitions in particular. Because if I am to receive what comes with equanimity, with prasada buddhi, and if the whole point of my life is to grow as a human being, to grow in stature, in emotional stature, in spiritual stature. This is what distinguishes the saints from the commoners, from the common people. Why do the saints have, such a, they carry so much weight? In any culture, in any religion, the saints are revered because they stand out. They are other than the ordinary. They're not ordinary people. Why? Because they are able to, ordinary people means what? The stock where you succumb to the psychological order and have stock reactions, not even responses. So it's not a surprise if someone, is attacking you, then if someone is attacking, then the common, the masses will attack back. And there is insecurity, there is fear, there is jealousy, and these are constantly recycled and thrown out. And this forms the basis of one's interactions, constant misunderstandings, constant fears, constant tears. This is what is the commoner's worldview. That somebody is attacking, I have to stand back, I have to protect myself, I have to be 2 steps ahead of the game. All these things, it's kind of a survival mode. Like I said, it's a prakrita buddhi. It's a collective, the prakrita buddhi of the collective. Whereas in the saint, there is a different response. And this is what Arjuna is told at the end of the, at the end of the 2nd chapter. That the saint stands out, not in the way he or she talks, walks, or what they eat, how they sit, how they stand. No, that all may be common. But the saint stands out in one, from one standpoint and in one matter alone. And what is that? It is that they have cleaned up their ragadveshas. So the ragadvesha cleanup has happened as a result of karma yoga, and that is what makes the saint, a saintly person. And so here, so if my whole life is I'm supposed to grow to be a saintly person, because this is what Arjuna asks in the 2nd chapter. What are these people who have this knowledge are like? You can't have the knowledge of Advaita, that everything is non-dual, and then lead your life screaming at everyone. That is just, there is a big, gap. That is not what the point is. It should transform your life, and it should transform it so totally that you are a changed person. Now, how do I execute this while leading my life in the everyday? People tell me all this. It's easy for you. You live in an ashram. You can just do whatever you want. You have your own thing. You don't have to interact with people. You don't have to, go buy vegetables. You don't have to cook. You don't have to clean. Food magically appears. And then it's very easy to just be a sannyasi, not says the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita says that sannyaasastu mahabaho dukkham aptum ayogatah. Without karma yoga, without samatvam yoga uchyate, and what we are yet to see, yoga karmasu kaushalam, there is no, there is no yoga, there is no sannyasa, no saintliness possible, no jnanam possible. This is what is, is iterated again and again in the Bhagavad Gita. That without karma yoga, one is neither here nor there. So the karma yoga is a preparation for that. And so it's, and even though there are two lifestyles given, one lifestyle is to drop everything, including your clothes. That is what sannyasa is. All the clothes are given up. It's, put in the river, and the person is ready to walk, has the guts to walk into the world, somewhere just without even clothes. And if they could drop the body, they would drop the body also. That is sannyasa. And then the teacher calls them back and then says, wear this and be of service to the people who might want to look up to you. So that is what sannyasa is, the readiness to drop everything. And, if one is ready, one can go that route and completely focus on the knowledge. Loke asmin vividha nishtha, two kinds of committed lifestyles are given. One is what we just said, Sankhya Yoga, drop everything, just focus on the knowledge, focus on this, on becoming a compassionate person, on discovering in oneself that compassion through the pursuit of the knowledge. Oh, but that's so difficult. All right, that's why another way is given. Karma yogena yoginam. So the next lifestyle, the other lifestyle that is given is karma yoga, where one grows slowly while attending parties. New Year's Eve is coming, while doing whatever one wants to do, because the gamut of wants is so much, while attending to the children, while tending to the household, while earning your livelihood, while putting some of it at least in the bank account, while celebrating in the growth of your children and how they are in their accolades and in their weddings and in the grandchildren, all these things, these are all possible. At the same time being committed to the teachings, it is a possibility. That is why it is given as an option, because everyone cannot just drop everything and leave. Either they cannot, or they are just not able to, whatever it is. They are not just able to do that. And so, they are not deprived of this vision, because a specific way of life is given for people who are unable to give up everything, immediately at the drop of a hat. So what does that lifestyle entail, and why is it called, a life of yoga? Yoga means, I told you, we're all impossible in terms of asana. That is the specific definition. Yoga means where all impossible body parts come together. Yeah. And so here also, yoga means it's like an spiritual gymnastics, where all kinds of impossible attitudes are reconciled with what is at hand. So it is a yoga of objectivity. It is a yoga which is a journey from subjectivity to objectivity, where the subjective perceptions of the world, of myself and of Ishvara are slowly dropped, because what powers and fuels those subjective perceptions are raga and dvesha, R&D. I mean, R&D means research and development, but not in this context. Raga and dvesha, strong preferences, strong prejudices, cut through the reality, making it distorted. It's like a pencil put in the water. When the pencil enters the water, you have a glass, a clear glass of water, and then you put a pencil. What happens? There is this physical change called refraction, and because of the refraction, the pencil, you are convinced, is bent. It appears bent. So too, one is bent out of shape in this whole jagat, which is immediately converted to samsara. This jagat is just anandam brahma. It is Brahman, it is Ananda, but it is converted to samsara because of impossible attitudes, impossible notions, impossible values, which are held tenaciously, even in the face of them being shown to be wrong repeatedly. This is why we need karma yoga. Because it's like this, there are two kinds of ways of cooking, If you want something immediately, what do? You microwave it. You put it, and and a kind of an American funny way to say it is you zap the food, or worse still, you nuke the food. This is instant. Or you go to one of these fast food things, and you just get it. It's all ready. It's immediate. That's one kind of a way of eating. Or there is this new movement that is getting very popular. It is called the slow cooking movement. Everything is slow, slow, slow. And then you buy one slow cooker slowly, and then what do? You cut everything, the vegetables, you put the dal, you put the rice, and then this is just a good old khichdi that can be done with 2 whistles in a pressure cooker, if and it is done constantly like that, 2 3 whistles and it's done. But no, 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 you put everything, you put the lid and you plug the blessed thing in, and whole night it supposedly cooks, 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 cooks. And then you have the microwave khichdi, and the instant one, you just push the numbers and then it comes out. And then you have the slow cooked khichdi, and then you eat both of them. And definitely the slow cooked one will, I haven't eaten, but supposedly taste much better because it has had time for all the juices to be absorbed, to interact with one another and ripen into the proper taste. This is what is there. So karma yoga is not is not some kind of a instant, what is that, instant transformation. It's not anything instant, is little suspect. And so this is not instant, because the transformation happens over a period of time, because the raga dveshas are tightly sitting there. Yeah, and depending on the demeanor of the person and depending on the readiness of the person to embrace karma yoga, the results will vary. And that's why Bhagavan, Krishna is very, very unspecific about how long one has to practice karma yoga. Na chirena adhigacchati, not too long. Achirena adhigacchati, elsewhere. Not too long. You'll get there. You keep doing, you'll get there. And so the practice of this equanimity and the practice of gaining the prasada buddhi has to be done until it comes naturally. Until you don't have to think, prasada, where are you? Prasada, how do you spell it? Prasada, where are you? Why aren't you coming right now? Well, how come all this vengefulness is there? So that means one needs more karma yoga. It should be just natural. It should be just, it should no longer be deliberate. In the beginning, it is deliberate. Following dharma is deliberate, and thinking about the results of action, deliberate, and, not liking the results of action, and then, which is natural, and then deliberately thinking, no, this is Ishvara, deliberate, and then getting into the prasada mode, deliberate, crying, one is saying prasada, deliberate. But after that, practice, it becomes a spontaneous response. And until then, the karma yoga is what is to be perfected, because it is a lifestyle that is conducive to gaining the vision of the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita is not committed to unfolding karma yoga. The Bhagavad Gita is committed to unfolding moksha. Unfolding this knowledge that leads to freedom, complete freedom from all kinds of, the assailing wants and needs, and all these wanting, it transforms the desiring person. It doesn't bother with trying to eliminate desires. It transforms the desiring person and reveals that the so-called desiring person is a non-desiring person. Is Purusha, Purnaha. The word Purusha comes from Purnaha. Purayati Sarvan, the one that fills up everything, the one that accommodates everything, the one that is everything. This vision, is closely tied to the practice of Karma Yoga, because the lifestyle, helps in unfolding the vision in an auxiliary way. The teaching unfolds the vision primarily. So the karma yoga is a, is a sadhana for gaining the knowledge. Is a sadhana for preparing to gain the knowledge. Because the gain of the knowledge is really an as though gain. You yourself are free, and you have to discover that. And for that discovery, certain cobwebs have to come down, some spring cleaning has to happen in the inner psyche. And for this, that the samatvam, the equanimity, which is really prasada buddhi, has to be cultivated, has to be perfected, really speaking. There's a lot of has tos and musts and shoulds, but how to do this? I can't look at things as prasada. I mean, it's not easy, because I wanted something badly and I couldn't get it. And then again I wanted something and I couldn't get that. I tried again and 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 couldn't get that, But I have to have it, so therefore I keep trying, without examining the effort itself, without examining what is it that's going wrong, without examining that perhaps my karma is inhibiting this. Let me see how else to get this enjoyment. Why do I have to have this? This is how the person becomes a very tenacious and stubborn person in the face of what is. And what is Ishvara. What is Bhagavan. What is Bhagavati. And not seeing this is a very big mistake. It's an error. And so for the karma yogi, the first thing to be done to cultivate the prasada buddhi is to examine and do an enquiry into an area over which one has a say. One doesn't have a say over karma phala. We have already seen that in detail. Over the result of action, I have no say. Okay, where do I have a say? Over action itself. And I told you yesterday, the action also has to be Ishvarized. And we'll see how now. So over the action, I have some say. So therefore what? Samatvam means learning to keep learning to choose and prioritize which actions should I do and which actions should I give up. Yeah. And this is Arjuna's questions in the 18th chapter. What is tyaga? What should I give up? And what should I do? Kim tyajyam? He asks, what should I give up? And Lord Krishna says, don't give up yajna, dana, tapaha. Don't give up, the practice of worship. Don't give up worship. The action of worship, don't give up, because it contributes to self-growth. I told you yesterday, only in prayer is the will totally free. So don't give up worship. Dana means reaching out action, again, helping someone. Again, where the will is free. You need not help, you can just walk away. But somehow something in the heart some string is pulled. Some empathy comes, some compassion flows. Inhibited, because I can only give $5. I don't want to give 50, but doesn't matter. But still, there is a chance for it to flow, and it flows, and that I allow that to flow. This is what the whole thing is, because without giving, one doesn't get anything back. This is the law of life. When you give, and when you give more, then that's when you get back. It's more kind of a there is a flow. There is a flow, and when you participate in the flow, the Bhagavad Gita says in the 3rd chapter, and then what happens when you participate in the flow? That abundance comes to you. The more you spend, and not spending on yourself, but the more you give, the more you get back. It's a law. It's a law of abundance. The more it is hoarded, nothing comes back. And so, therefore, one has to be, one is in touch with these kinds of, laws. And yajna, dana, and tapaha. Tapaha means your own personal sadhana, austerities, whatever you practice. That should not be given up, Bhagavan Krishna says. Because, oh, I have to give up everything, so let me give up this as well. No. So therefore I have to pick and choose what actions should I do. Certain actions cannot be given up, like what I need to do for my, for myself. You can't give up brushing teeth. You can't give up taking shower. All those are social service, as I said, because you have to be, let loose. You are let loose in society, and other people have to bear with you. You may not want to take a shower, but other people definitely will start praying that you take a shower, otherwise they will avoid you completely. So such things you cannot give up. Certain actions that are your duty, we'll be seeing more of that. Certain duties cannot be given up because they are duties, they have to be fulfilled, they cannot be given up. And then, you can't give up that. You can't give up dharmic actions. You can't give up nitya karma. Then, what to give up? Unfortunately, what you give up is raga, dvesha, powered actions. That is what is to be given up. Slowly, grown out of. It's not even given up or dropped. You allow it to drop because you are busy fulfilling what you need to do. And so what you want to do takes a back seat. It takes a different priority. It goes lower in the priority because moksha is the first priority. Self-growth for the sake of moksha is the first priority. So I want something to indulge myself becomes lower in the scale of priorities, much lower. And so therefore, in order to have prasada buddhi, samatvam, karma yoga, whatever you want to call it, I need to have an overhauling of the kinds of actions that I perform. So kamya karma is kamya karma means actions to fulfill raga dveshas come at the bottom. Because what am I trying to do? I'm trying to manage the raga dveshas. You can't manage them by, you can't manage them by fulfilling them. Because I told you yesterday, Raktasura and Bijasura, that's what, you fulfill one raga dvesha and then 10 others rear their ugly heads. 100 others come. They clone themselves very quickly, faster than an amoeba reproducing in the intestines. That's how it is. Faster than that. And then, so these are the kinds of actions that I have to be very wary of, and the Bhagavad Gita cautions this. Ye hi samsparshaja bhogaha dukkhayonaya evate adyantavantah kaunteya nateshu ramante buddhaha. So ye hi, all these, ye samsparshaja bhogaha, instant gratification arising out of the contact with certain sensual objects or sense objects or sensory objects which are dear to me. So certain things which are dear to me, I keep, going after them. Even though I don't get them repeatedly, I'm disappointed, but yet I don't change or interrogate my actions and I keep going after them. They are called samsparshaja. Samsparshat jayante iti samsparshaja bhogaha. Bhogaha means objects of enjoyment that are born out of the contact with the sense objects, So, contact with the sense organs, the objects of enjoyment which give a certain quick thrill, finite thrill, Suddenly I want this, I have this craving, and then suddenly I'm going to get this, and I just feel good. For how long? Just briefly. After that what? Oh, crying, same thing, Same sad story. This is what the whole thing is. So these quick, instant gratification, samsparshaja bhogaha, Lord Krishna says, dukkha yonayaha evate. They are the birth canals of sorrow. This is how sorrow is born. How is sorrow born? Each time you go after, the finite, sorrow is born. Why? Because you really want the infinite. So it is a morphed desire. It's a mutant desire. It's a mutant desire. It's a desire gone rogue, because really the desire is for that which is infinite. The infinite being you, it has to be discovered, and for that some space has to be made. Otherwise, if it's always crowded with the finite, the infinite says, okay, bye bye. There is no room for me, you know. And this is what one has to understand. So dukkha yonayah evate. So going constantly, it's occasionally it's fine, but indulging constantly in, in ragadveshas. Sense objects means ragadveshas. Desirable things. All the things all the time, having some kind of a hedonistic lifestyle is the birth canal for all kinds of sorrows to be born. Yeah, single sorrow, what else, you have twin sorrows, triplets, quadruplets, quintuplets, sextuplets, octuplets, etc., on and on. You have multiple sorrow as a result of overindulging in, or not even overindulging, making your life only geared towards the gain of the finite leads you to sorrow. Adyanta, why? Because adyantavantaha kaunteya. What is adyantavantaha? Adyantavantaha means they have beginning, they are subject to having a beginning and an end. Meaning they are just time bound. Oh Arjuna, they are time bound. Why are they time bound? Because that's their nature. They are time bound gains. Because whatever ragadvesha you have is for time bound gains. And the time bound gains, are like a time bomb. Tick, tick, tick. Boom. They destroy you. They destroy you. Elsewhere it is said, pranashyati. Smriti Bramshat Buddhinashat Pranashyati. One forgets one's purpose in life. The Buddhi, Prasada Buddhi included, Vyavasayatmika Buddhi to Prasada Buddhi, both, that whole journey is destroyed, and when the Buddhi is destroyed, the person is destroyed. So everything that is, if one cannot make a lifestyle out of the pursuit of what one wants constantly, because one is a disappointed person. This is a true recipe for sorrow. And then what? Because the gains are time bound, and what I want is the timeless being myself. It has to be discovered. With the ragadvesha, upashamana has to take place. The ragadveshas have to be, pacified, starved, and, suspended with the help of the buddhi that grows in karma yoga, that grows in equanimity, that grows in accommodation, that grows in compassion. That is what I have to do. And so, adyantavantah kaunteya nateshu ramate buddhaha. Buddhaha means the wise person. Buddhaha na ramate does not revel. They don't revel. The wise people do not revel in time-bound gains, because it is a distraction. It's a distraction from what really one wants. So that means I have to have a boring life. Always I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. Always I'm performing my duties. And look at all the articles that are coming. All work and no play makes you dull. And then you have to have some kind, otherwise you're exhausted and you're sleep deprived and you're not able to do this. And there is so much stress. And you see all the articles that are coming out. People are not, are not able to work. And people are wanting holidays. And then even after the holidays, there is further stress. So what are you saying? I'm supposed to just do what I'm supposed to do, and I'm not supposed to do, not go after time-bound gains. Where is the fun in karma yoga? Where is the fun? There is no fun there is no fund. I'm not getting anything out of that. I want a refund. I don't want this karma yoga anymore because I'm supposed to keep on doing certain things and then I'm supposed to give up certain other things. What I give up is what I want, and what I'm supposed to do, that is what I don't want. Where is the fun in this? And which idiot thought of this? And why should I perform this? Well, Bhagavan thought of this. And Bhagavan thought of this. It is given by Bhagavan. And so there must be some wisdom here. And the wisdom is precisely in allowing the raga dveshas to not make a selection about the kind of actions needing to be pursued. They are not equipped to make a choice. Because they will always be partial towards themselves, and then they will only choose those kinds of actions that strengthen them and strengthen the ahankara, and then push aside the buddhi yoga, push aside nishchayatmika buddhi, push aside the decisive buddhi wanting spiritual growth, push aside any kind of a need for emotional maturity, suppress the need for this knowledge, suppress the desire for the knowledge. Okay, few more lifetimes gone because of this suppression. Finally, I have somehow emerged from under the rock of these raga dveshas, and then I have crawled out from under the rock. I meaning this, Sakshi, the witness who is wanting, who is seeing very clearly, at least, for a moment, that my choices are really suspect and my choices have to be cleaned up. And so that is when to capitalize on this. And as Pujya Swamiji, said it, beautifully. Once somebody, this is when he said it, once somebody came and said, oh, you've been working for so long, because he was correcting something, and then he had to write some letters, and then then again he tried to go and get a little, rest, a little nap in the afternoon, but some people came from very far, and so he sat and talked to them instead. And then, he was about to get up and go, and then there was some crisis that needed to be attended to, and so he had to be on the phones. And then at the end of this, it was just, no point in going and getting up. He got ready for class. There was class at 5 o'clock. And just before the class, we were all standing there, and somebody said to him, Swamiji, don't you get tired? You have to do so much. You have to keep doing all these things. He said, no, because what I have to do is what I love to do. Very beautiful. That was a very important moment for me, because I was standing there, and when he said that, something happened in my head. It was just something so beautiful. What I have to do is indeed what I love to do. That is the growth there, and that is the slow cooker karma yogi here. The one who has ripened, and all the tastes, and all the, infused with bhakti, infused with shraddha, slow cooking. Over time, one has become paripakva, the paripakvata, that ripening has taken place of the attitude and the values, and there is an alignment between what one loves to do and what one has to do. Otherwise, there is a split. The raga dveshas on one side, they are the Kauravas, and then the Pandava, the lone Pandava in the form of Arjuna battling on, and the Kauravas saying, shut up. This is the internal Kurukshetra. Otherwise, the battle is on. That integration has to take place. There is an alignment between, there is a natural alignment, because the temperament and the demeanor of the actor is not connected to the results of action, even though you think otherwise. The demeanor and the temperament of the actor is not connected to the choice of actions, even though it may appear otherwise. The demeanor and the temperament of the actor is directly connected to the extent to which they are able to command their raga dveshas. The more raga dveshas you are able to manage, the happier, freer, lighter, and delightful you are. That is what it is. So your happiness is not concomitantly connected to how much raga dveshas you are able to fulfill. Not at all. It's the opposite. And that is what is the measure of success in the Bhagavad Gita. That is what is the measure of success. The measure of success is not how much raga dveshas you can fulfill. The measure of success is how successfully, how skillfully you are able to manage them. This is what one has to, understand. So therefore, I have to, not just in order to welcome the results of action with equanimity and with worshipfulness, I have to change the priority on all the kinds of things that I have to do, that I want to do. I have to change. That change has to happen because there is no time. The point is not, the action that is being indulged. The point is self-growth. And so the need for self-growth overpowers all the other needs. And therefore, everything in life becomes yoga. Parentage becomes yoga. Dealing with the parentage that one has becomes yoga. And what else? School, college becomes yoga. Job becomes yoga. Marriage is yoga. It is for the sake of self-growth. If marriage is for the sake of itself, if marriage, it cannot be an end. If marriage is the end, it will end. That is what happens. So marriage is for the sake of self-growth. And self-growth does happen. Why? Because you have to deal with another ego. Yeah. It was hard enough to deal with your own ahankara. Think about having to deal with one more person. Not easy. You want the window open, they want the window closed, you like it a certain way, you want everything quiet, they want everything noisy. You want, plain food, they want everything full of masala. How are you going to deal with this? This is where the self-growth, comes. Because I have to compromise. I have to compromise a lot of things, and that's what makes marriage successful, because in this compromise there is tyaga, sacrifice. Wherever there is sacrifice, there is self-growth. So even if one feels, I have a horrible marriage, I've had to sacrifice so much, the other person gets away with everything. Really, you are the winner. It's a win-win situation. Why? Because, what you have gained is self-growth. That's what you have gained. And it couldn't have been gained without the spouse. In fact, the presence of the spouse has made you into an emotionally mature, more spiritual, more compassionate person, really. And even if you can't stand the sight of them, you should give them a flower and say, thank you. Thank you for making me into a karma yogi, and for changing me from being a bhogi to a yogi. This is what a karma yogic marriage looks like. Because the other person is not a sparring partner, like, oh, you fulfilled 6 ragas and 6 dveshas, I'm going to fulfill 12. No. Go ahead, fulfill your raga dveshas, because that's not what my, focus in life is. My focus in life is self-growth. So my actions are going to subserve, that. Every other raga dvesha fulfillment is going to subserve the self-growth, because what I want is self-growth. That is karma yoga, for which Bhagavan comes into the picture, because of which I am able to grow. And so marriage is yoga. Children are yoga. Why? Because they push every button you never thought you even had. That is why they are yoga. Because they make you into a better person. At least they have the potential to make you into a better person. And they keep you on your toes. You can't tell the child, don't tell a lie. And then the very next moment you just, pick up the phone and, and make an excuse why you can't attend a function. And you say, oh, I'm feeling sick. And the child looks confused. You're not sick, Why are you doing this? That is how the whole thing is. And the child is very confused because it's being told something, and something else is being modeled, and so the child will call you on it. If you want to grow in honesty, you just tell the child, please let me know each time I'm not telling the truth. It will tell you. It will tell you and make you into the most, you will become someone who can put Harishchandra to shame, at the end of this. Harishchandra was someone who was very, in our mythology, valued for his truth, truth telling. And so that is how it is. They keep the children, keep the adults honest. They keep them on their toes, and the children make you more in line with just one kind of a person, not all these split personality is not there, because what you tell the child you have to follow, you have to keep up with the promises you made. You become a better person for having raised children, definitely. You become a better person. I mean, you don't automatically become, provided you set this self growth into, free. You set the process of self growth, provided your commitment is there and you set it into motion. Then marriage can make you a better person, and it will make you a better person. More compassionate, more resolved, less demanding, and then children will definitely help your self growth. Job helps your self growth, because at least in marriage you have to deal with one ego. Unless it's an Indian marriage, then you marry the whole village. Yeah. Job helps with the self growth, because here again you have to deal with all kinds of people. The boss wants something, the boss's boss wants something else, the co-worker is supposed to be some kind of a collaborative project. The co-worker stops coming to the office and then puts his or her name on the project prominently, even though they haven't done any work. All this, resolves all the rankling pain and sorrow that has been carried from so many lifetimes. It can, because that pain and sorrow is taken at the altar of Bhagavan, in the form of a prayer, in the form of a expressed helplessness, in the form of seeking redress. And when I do that, then there is a transformation, an internal transformation that is happening. Samatvam yoga uchyate doesn't have to just do with taking the results of action with equanimity. It has to do with paring down and choosing with discrimination what kind of actions, that where is my energy going to go, what kind of actions am I going to perform, what kind of actions am I going to just give up or let go or allow them to drop. That's even better, because there's nothing to let go. You allow them to drop because you're so focused on what you want to do that other things don't really come into the picture. And really speaking, truth be told, you can't do as you like. You can't. You can't always do as you like. Who can do as you like? You can't always do what you like. So you better grow into a person that has to like whatever needs to be done. And that is the slow cooker. The Karma Yoga is a slow cooker. That is what it is. Now we turn to the next definition, which is, which comes after the Samatvam Yoga Uchyate, which is called Yogaha Karmasu Kausalam. Kausalam, Kushalasya Bhava Kausalam. Kausalam means, it is unfortunately translated as skill. Yeah. Kushala here means someone who is adept, someone who is skilled, and I don't know, because I don't know a better translation. Someone who is skilled, and so therefore, because certain Sanskrit words you cannot really translate. So skill in action is Karma Yoga. This is how the popular definition. And I told you the story of the pickpocket, not the pickpocket, the bank robber. And what does the bank robber say? I have equanimity. I will take everything as prasada. I will even say a prayer before the action. I will pray upon my tools, and then I will just do that, and then go, and then whatever comes. If there is gold, banknote, jewelry, wonderful. If there is only banknotes, okay, no problem. If there is nothing, all right. And if I get caught in the process, all right. So skill in action. Even a pickpocket is skilled. The bank robber is skilled. The hedge fund defrauder is skilled. And the lawyer whose main focus in life is to find loopholes, so that you can get away with all kinds of things. He also or she also is skilled. So skill in action, there's something wrong, cannot constitute karma yoga. So we have to see what this skill means. And the word kushala, kausalam, comes from kushala, which has its bearings in the Veda, in the Upanishads. Dharmanna pramaditavyam, kushalanna pramaditavyam, bhutyaina pramaditavyam, satyanna pramaditavyam, dharmanna pramaditavyam, kushalanna pramaditavyam, na pramaditavyam. Must not, you must not forsake or must not turn away from, or there should be no neglect. You must not neglect what? Satya, truth. Speaking of the truth, the Taittiriya Upanishad, in talking about, in giving its instruction, says that don't swerve from truth. Okay, first one. Satyanna pramaditavyam. So in order for that, what do I have to do? Dharmat na pramaditavyam. Don't swerve from dharma. Don't neglect dharma. Dharma we have seen. That universal matrix of norms which I have no choice but to fulfill because I want other people to be dharmic towards me. So satyat na pramaditavyam, dharmat na pramaditavyam, and then that should be enough. Kushalan na pramaditavyam. Kushala here is the first time it is used. Kushala here means the ability to interpret dharma correctly. Very important. Because dharma is many layered. First we have the universal matrix of norms which need no interpretations. They are just black and white and there is nothing else, Himsam na kuryat. Do not commit injury. What is there to, you can't say, oh, a small nick is okay. It is not. A small nick is also not okay. So, okay, I won't hurt, I won't touch the person, but emotionally I will shower some abuses. That's also an emotional hurt. You can't hurt the person. Himsam na kuryat. Do not, commit injury of any kind. Desist from hurt. This is what is said. Desist from hurt. And then, this is samanya dharma. Don't steal. Don't, covet other ma gridhak kasyas vidhanam. Don't covet other people's property. Don't do this. Don't do that. And all these things, these are all black and white. I mean, there's really, it should not need any interpretation because it's, if you start interpreting, all these things, then who will interpret? Who is the one to interpret? Ragadveshas will interpret. A little bit of hurt is okay. Now it is back. Everything is back. Okay? Yeah. Where were we? What was the last thing you heard? Yes. No, oh, only no harm, no himsa of any kind. Oh, okay, okay. Because I was talking to myself. I said a few things after that. All right. So even though the point is this, even though dharma doesn't, samanya dharma, that which is, is not subject to interpretation, because that it is universal. So that which is universal is universally wrong. You cannot say that, once in a while it's okay if I steal, because I can be robbing hood, not Robin Hood, robbing hood, because again it is against dharma. So therefore the samanya dharma doesn't need any interpretation. Should not need any interpretation. What is there to interpret? But the human life is a complex life. Having said that, it is not a simple life, and it has there are number of opportunities created where certain things have to be interpreted. Himsam na kuryat. Do not commit injury of any kind. And then yes, yet you have the medical profession, the doctors polishing their scalpels, and then cutting through the person, cutting through the abdomen, and then what? And then extracting a tumor. But let's say unfortunately the surgery is not successful. The person was in a very advanced state of some cancer, and then the person expired on the table. But the doctor is not culpable for first degree, second degree, third degree homicide. No. Why? The intention behind wielding the sword, the scalpel, was different than a person who is killing in order to get rid of somebody. So here the ragadveshas were not in operation. What was in operation was a desire to save the life, for which everything was kept at stake. The doctor staked everything and said, okay, let's try. This is the only hope. Let's try. And unfortunately, the trial was not successful. And therefore, the doctor is not culpable to be tried for murder, because this is not murder, this is not himsa. Why? Because the intention is to give comfort. You see, this is what constitutes what is called Vishesha Dharma. Samanya Dharma, where there is no interpretation needed or possible, but that Vishesha Dharma, it means it is articulated in certain ways, at certain times, in certain circumstances. So wherever there is a rule, there is always an exception to the rule. So the Vishesha Dharma is ascertaining when those exceptions are valid. That is Vishesha Dharma. That is Kausalam. Kushalata here is deciding, deciphering, and discriminating what is okay and what is not. Like for example, the rule that you have to drive on a certain side of the street. In India and England, it is on the left side. In the United States, it's on the right side. So you are a law-abiding citizen. You are going on the right side, and suddenly you see an 18-wheel truck barreling towards you, which is going on the left side. So it's coming on your side. So what do you have to do? You have no choice except to swerve to the left, and you avoid the accident, and maybe you hit another motorist's car a little bit in the process, but nothing happens. But when the police come on the scene, they're going to congratulate you for driving on the left, even though you're supposed to drive on the right. This is Vishesha Dharma. This is what constitutes Vishesha Dharma. Because, even though there is no interpretation possible or needed, life has its curved balls. So many things come in the way of, that put you in the unenviable position keep you on the toes, because you have to decide what to do, and sometimes there is no time. You have to decide in the split of a second what to do. And this is what is a lived dharma, Vishesha dharma. You can think of the, Samanya dharma as an outer circle, and the Vishesha dharma as a concentric circle inside, and inside that is Swadharma. We'll discuss more these two tomorrow. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.